Hey guys, welcome to the Flaming Chicken, where edits just don't happen. So, moving in, this is PSA Guess the Greats, where we show some Pokemon. I try and showcase ones that you don't typically see too much in terms of what our people are showcasing. So, first up is this Dioxis Electric. There's some minor scratches. His Hall full kind of covers up the scratches actually pretty well. It's a very interesting pattern. I think it's like the first time I've ever seen this pattern. I kind of like it. It's a different pattern. Nothing really special. There's some hollow for the Dioxis stamp itself. Other than that, centering's not great. The rest of the card looks to be fine. Minor scratches in the Hall foil, super minor. Whiting all around, but it's minor. We're going to guess 7. It's probably, we'll say 6 to 7. And now I'm certain a lot of you are probably like, well, is that really worth grading? And right off the bat, probably not. But once it's graded, we'll just try and do our best to keep the outside cases from getting damaged and go from there. Now, it's funny, this is an older card, and you can find it for sale and stuff as an individual, but you don't see it showcased on too many YouTubers. So we got Brock. This one's not in perfect condition. There's definitely some scratches in the hollow foil. The centering is good. There's some, oh, that came off, that's good. There's some minor dirt here and there. Other than that, the card's really not that bad. Pretty clean. Good swirl up there. Back could be in better shape. Overall, though, we're going to actually do a guess between 6 to 8. I would definitely say 7 to 8 if there was either a cleaner back or just less scratches in the hollow foil. And really, this card kind of becomes worth it, once you hit that 8 mark. We're going to say 6 to 8 for that one. Up next, all right, sorry. I know I said I try and do ones that people don't showcase too much, but believe it or not, I already pre-built the piles, and so this was already in. So there is definitely a lot of scratches on the hollow foil. There is one good extra note to this card. It is a black dot error card. Let me see if I can just zoom in on that without making the camera lose focus. So this little black dot right there, it's one of the errors. There's some other errors for Charizard. Yeah, so that's one of the ones you're looking for, is that little black dot. What do you think? Gotta go back to that. Yeah, more scratches in the hollow foil than I wish there was. Centering looks decent. The back is pretty decent. I mean, I know there's some stuff, but it's really not that bad. Maybe 6 to 7. So there's a theory that I have that I'm curious about, and I guess there really isn't a super way to verify too much. Because the Shadowless Charizards I sent in, sorry I say plural, it was just one. The Shadowless Charizard I sent in was actually in about the same shape as this one. And I figured that would come back a 4 to 5, and it came back an 8. So either we got lucky and we got some really just brand new guy who grades who didn't know better. I don't think that's the case. Or the PSA gives you a grade based on the service you pay for. And I think we're going to come to find out down the road whether that's true or not. I did a lot of cards economy service. Cards that are worth more than $200. This card declared value would be worth more than $200. So, but that's not how you're supposed to grade a card as a grading service. Just already asking for extra time and stuff to grade all those cards. So I really hope they don't grade them based on the service I paid for. That's not how to do that, and man, I'm gonna be really upset if that's what happens. Next up is promo Evie. It's a pretty common Evie. It's still a cool Evie to look at, and I've explained too. I think some people have looked at this card. It's one of the first questions that actually ran through my head. Because sometimes, especially back in the older cards, they would do certain things for a reason. And so if you ever looked at this Evie and you're like, okay, it's Evie, he's got blue, yellow, and red, but he's a colorless Pokemon. Why does he have such a strange hollow foil? Well, it's because originally Evie only had 3 evolutions back in the day. And that's what that represents. Yellow represents Jolteon, red represents Flareon, and blue represents Vaporeon. It's kind of hard actually to get this card in a 10. This one definitely isn't a 10. Centering is off pretty drastic, top to bottom, left to right's okay. And because his hollow foil is just so mirror, it's so easy to scratch. Yeah, definitely not a 10. Somewhere between the 7 to 8 category. If his centering was better, I would say 8. But I'm going to say 7 to 8. Eevee's always been one of the really cool Pokemons. I mean, I guess it's hard to say what is a lame Pokemon. I think there's a few. Wobbuffet's pretty lame. Garbodor is pretty lame. There's a myriad of lame Pokemon. Scyther is not lame. Scyther is a lizard dragon sort of thing, dinosaur, turned into a bug with swords for arms. Now this Scyther definitely is not in the best of condition. He's got like a stained smudge. He's got some scratches all up in his hollow foil. His bordering, centering wise, is pretty good. He's got these smudges. The scratches aren't too bad, but they are there. I'd be a lot happier if the apparent smudges weren't there. The back isn't too beat up. Overall, when you take everything into account for this card, though, especially those smudges, I think we're just going to say a flat 5. The scratches in his hollow foil, they're there, but they're not nearly as heavy as some that would get a 5. I'll say a flat 5 for him. Moving in, I think for a lot of kids, this is probably one of the coolest Mewtwo cards, like at least from our generation. One is it had this cool gold text up here. A lot of people are watching Pokemon via WB Kids, and they're like, "Oh wow, no, cool!" When they got this card, like, a lot of people thought it was fake. At least as a kid, you did. Centering is pretty good. It's a little heavier on the bottom than the top, but it's pretty good. It's pretty cool. It's like Mewtwo got this energy flowing around him. Would have been cool to have seen this card in hollow. Definitely a lot of whiting on the back. This card usually isn't worth grading unless it's a 9 and up. Like really, the prices drop drastically below the 9 category. So it's definitely not going to be a 9. I think it could reach 8. I think 7 to 8 is a fair guess. I'd be happy it came back at 9, just doubt it will. Now this one I'm actually not certain. I haven't looked up too much about this Arcanine. I really liked the promo cards as a kid, and for me they were hard to get. My parents didn't take me to the movies, and I don't know if this one came in the movies as well, but I know a lot of promo cards came out for the movies and stuff, and in order for me to get them, I had to trade for them, and because my, I guess, friends at the time knew that my parents didn't take me to those movies, they would take advantage, and I'd have to trade quite a few cards for these promos. It's got some whiting. Centering's a little weird. It's not terrible. Some weird invert dents, but not immediate poke dents. I don't know how they grade against that exactly. I'm gonna say 7-8 for this one. So yeah, it kind of sucked. I mean, at the time I didn't really care. I was like, oh wow, really cool card. 1 of 1 for me. So, I had tons of commons and uncommons and stuff. This is a really nice one. I think this one's in really good condition too. So it's promo Hollow Mew. Pretty clean. Minor scratches on the hollow foil, super minor. Centering looks pretty solid. And the back's more beat up than I thought it would be. Probably 7 to 8. So what's funny to me, I didn't have the hollow one as a kid, but I definitely had the non-hollow one as a kid. I didn't play Mew a lot. It wasn't a very playable card. It was just something you had in the collection. At least in my opinion, he wasn't a very playable card. But I guess looking at it now, he wasn't too bad, depending, especially if you're playing against someone whose deck was weak against Psychic. Because you can just straight up throw out Mew. A lot of the times we didn't follow the rules as kids, you know, we didn't really care. Let's say 7 to 8, it's probably 6 to 7. Oh man, sadly this Nidoking not in fantastic shape. So he's got a lot of scratches. They're fairly deep. That's really going low, and we're probably already looking at the 5 category. He's got some smudges on the sides, and some smudges all over the card actually. Probably looking at the 4 category actually. Whiting on the back isn't the worst. Oh, we're gonna say 3 to 5. And 5 is definitely probably being gracious. Granted, we've never seen a 5 in person. I've only seen as low as a 7 in person, I think. I really liked these offset cards when I was a kid. I mean, I like them now still too. And wow, that is just, there's like, they put like all the swirls all in one spot on this card. You can definitely see scratches in it, but they made these cards out of the same hollow material as the others, so scratches were really easy to get. These were definitely cards that you should have immediately like did all the protective things you need to do. But as a kid, all I had was a binder, and then on top of that, I used my cards to play, because that's what kids do. And my parents definitely didn't buy me any top loaders. I didn't really get top loaders unless I got them from someone as a little gift. And I would get like maybe 5 used top loaders. A little heavier on the top, bordering wise. Whiting's not too rough. There's more scratches than I'd like to see. We're gonna say 6 to 7. I don't think that's being too generous. Let me know what you think in the comments. This is on the iPhone 12 Pro, so you are seeing pretty much the exact same details I am seeing. In fact, very rarely, you know, when I pull the card off to the side from the camera, that generally means that I'm taking a second look closer to my eye. I actually, at the same time while I'm shooting the video and I'm looking at the card now, I'm looking at it through the phone, so you're seeing the exact same thing I am actually, for the most part, on. So I see a little thing, like just a little small dent. Smeargle painting on some walls with the Smeargle observing his art. I think this border is intentional to where it's kind of faded. It's very interesting. Centering looks fine to me. Not really too many scratches or any scratches I can see. Some very, very minor ones. How's the back? A little whiting here, a little whiting here. We think this is a possible 8. The whiting is a little bit in one concentration of it, like it's more than it should be, but I think it could be an 8. I think just a flat 8. Next up is another Smeargle. Now if I remember, this one's like in really, really good condition, so that's fantastic. So it's Japanese Neogenesis Smeargle. Centering looks pretty good. Hollow foil looks absolutely near fantastic, just fantastic. Oh, and you can see the hollow foil with him painting like a smiley face. Fantastic. And the back, pretty clean. We're going to guess 10. And I don't mean it's common with Japanese cards, but it's definitely more likely for you to get higher grades with Japanese cards. That's just why they're worth less. You have to get them in higher grades to be worth something. So the promo Smeargle, oh, does that one come off? Centering's fine, except for that little smudge right there. I gotta try and keep my eye open for misprints. I just have a feeling that Smeargle would be one of them that has it, just out of the irony of it and being the art Pokemon who drew on things. Some whiting here, big chip here. If it wasn't for the big chip, I'd definitely say and 8. With the big chip, we're looking more into the 7 category. So we'll say 7 for that one. I have no idea what that one goes for at the moment. I kind of just stopped looking at prices. I'm not really interested in prices until I go to buy a specific card. The prices have continued to go up. I think we're going to continue to see a steady rise. And for those who are wondering, so I do a lot of, I want to say a lot, I do a fair bit of day trading along with my normal job as well. And in comparison for Pokemon, with it being a physical asset and it's a physical limitation of how many are printed for each set, no matter what, even if, like, so for example, even if, or let's say a new set came out, and let's say every last card came out and it was a perfect 10, and every last card got graded, and every last card was preserved for the rest of the time, there's still only a limited quantity. If they did a run and 100,000 cards came out, which I think is actually high, I think most runs only hit maybe, well, I'd say they probably hit at least 100,000, like not packs but cards. And let's say those runs come out and everything's perfect and everyone has them preserved and encased and they're all PSA 10s, every last card. Over time, those cards are still to go up in value. And also over time, accidents happen. People damage their cards, lose their cards, break their cards get stolen. And then on top of that, the thing with a physical asset like this, if Pokemon ever goes under, which it probably won't, it's the largest grossing media company of all time. They're above Star Wars. They're like $90 billion. But if Pokemon ever went under, the rest of their stuff that remains is going to go up in value. So Pokemon's a pretty safe investment. It just takes time. It can be a long investment if you're doing the grading process. You can buy and sell raw, but you won't get as much return unless you're really, really lucky. Bordering seems good on this Politoed. If I'm correct, this Politoed is from my collection. There is widening, but I'd say it's minimal. I'll just say flat 8. I don't think I've played Politoed a lot. I'm pretty certain this is my Politoed. I mean, these are all my cards, but like now, but I mean, like, you know, instead of me going out and buying that Politoed, I think it was previously in my collection. I've always wanted to grade cards for a really long time. Oh yeah, the other thing too that's really cool about island cards that I actually did notice as a kid, and I didn't have the full set to notice it. I just happened to notice it with like a couple of the cards. And other people, you know, it is, you know, when you get the full set, it is actually something that, you know, that's going on. You can actually put them together in the binder that they specifically made for this set. But every Pokemon in the background has their own Islands card, and those Islands cards actually, they're all the same art, but specifically focused on those Pokemon. So there's an actual background scene happening, and it's really interesting. It's a pretty cool little card set. People are asking way too much for it though right now. There is a ton of swirl on this card. Hope that's dope to see. Definitely scratches, but as I said, it's really hard to get these not scratched. And I don't mean like people are asking too much for the 10 sets. I'm certain, you know, people aren't asking what they want for the 10 sets. These are probably really hard to get in PSA 10. This is closer to an 8 to 9, so we'll say 8 to 9. And so the thing is I get agitated, and you can ask whatever price you want. God, it's a free country. But I just get agitated when people ask like for a PSA price on a card they haven't had graded. Like that's something someone had to pay and wait for and hope to get. Like you're not guaranteed a PSA 8 to 9 to 10. You have to find a card that is worth grading. You have to send it in. Centering's a little off left to right. Top to bottom's fine. Card's pretty clean. Should be. This should just be a 10. I know this one isn't a big hit, but you know. But yeah, I really don't like seeing people who have cards that aren't PSA graded demanding PSA prices. And that's not fair if they're getting it. And granted, if they're getting it, then people who are buying are paying for things with no education into the game. Don't pay PSA prices for raw cards. And if someone else buys them, let them. It just makes PSA cards worth more. If someone's willing to pay that whatever price for a raw card with no grade attached to it yet, and then they have to pay for that grading service and then wait for that grading service and hope to get that grade, it'll make them appreciate already graded cards more later down the road. So one thing I want to get at too is the last Togepi for this set, and this is one that really reminds me of it, is I think a lot of people actually recognize and remember Togepi more from something else than from Pokemon. And Centering's pretty good on this. And I would say easily, for me, it's got to be Super Smash Bros. Because when you're throwing them Pokeballs around in Super Smash Bros., which is kind of the most OP yet fun weapon in my opinion to use. All right, so there's a lot of whiting on the back. Looking more at the 7 category. Is when you get Togepi, and Togepi pops out his Pokeball, and he does a little cue, and like it's a little cue that kind of tells you what to expect if you like memorize the stuff. And then Togepi will go, Togepi! And then whatever attack goes off, and I think a lot of people, there are people who don't even know what Pokemon are, who know who Togepi is, simply because of Super Smash Bros. The Rocket's Trap. I always thought it was kind of funny this wasn't called Team Rocket's Trap, but okay. Definitely nice little hollow color mixture background. Hard to see. Right, like you can see it's kind of like a purple with some red, oranges, and yellows. The Rocket's Trap. Some scratches in the hollow foil. Centering's pretty good. Mainly just some super minor scratches. But backed out some whiting. I'd say this kind of hits that 8 category. Oh, and there is a dent in that corner. It will be a low 8. It'll be a lucky 8. If it wasn't for that dent in the corner, I was going to say it could possibly get a 9. It's probably a 7. I'm going to say 8. Hope for the best. Once again, as I said, I try and do cards that I don't think people usually see, or people don't usually get graded or such, or really showcase on their channels. And so this is an example, this Wooper. And I'm sending it in because obviously it's a special card. It's a Delta species, Dragon Frontiers, and he's hollow foil. I think they consider this reverse hollow. I don't know. They get kind of weird in their categories, in my opinion. The back is pretty clean. I'm going to say 8 to 9 for this fella. 10 would have been super nice. I mean, guys, like getting a 10 on anything, regardless of which card it is almost like always going to be worth it. And, I mean, even immediately if the card's brand new. Of course, you're going to want to wait, though, in my opinion. You know, if you're a buyer and seller. It's okay to wait, guys. I mean, all right, lots of scratches. Probably already in the 5 categories. It's a neat hollow foil. I wish it was more mirror to enjoy than all those scratches. Bordering looks fine. Ugh. We're going to say 3, 2, 5. That's probably not worth it. It'll be definitely a long waiting game, but we'll wait. 3, 2, 5. Well, that concludes this episode. I think I'll just wrap it up with a couple other things. Sorry. I would not suggest getting into this unless you're really, really, really willing to wait. The game of buying and selling and doing trade cards was already long before a lot of the graders' excuses due to COVID. With their excuses, a lot of stuff has been put on halt and has had an extremely long return time. I'm not saying you can't be a buyer and seller. I just want you to be aware of how long it takes for things to turn around. You could probably find some really amazing garage sale deals. I haven't taken the time to do that. I've done a lot of work with Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Granted, a lot of those things are also getting hunted down. A lot of people are blowing up into this. People who didn't even like Pokemon are blowing up into this business. I have no issue with it. I have no qualms with it. Just know that that's currently what we're dealing with. I do think we will see another change. I think a lot of people are buying these Pokemon cards who don't even like Pokemon, and they're eventually going to have to sell their massive lots because they couldn't play the game long enough in terms of buying and selling and actually enjoying it and knowing what they're getting into. And so I think we're going to see some massive lots from people who got into it trying to resell their lots to at least break even or maybe even take just a minor loss. So that'll be interesting to see. Uh, huh. Sorry, I'm just looking at this booster box. And the saran wrap doesn't seem right. So I came into a conclusion, and it makes me nervous. So I buy things from this card store, and they didn't originally have this, which means either they bought it from someone, like a deal, or someone traded it to them for something, which means that card store has no way to verify whether or not this was resealed. And I'm looking at it closer, and the saran wrap doesn't seem right. I think I have a resealed Sun and Moon boosters box. Sorry guys, I was just looking at that, and this doesn't seem right. I know there's defects in products, not everything's packaged perfectly, but I've never seen it to the point to where it has like this gigantic glob of twisted up saran wrap that doesn't, this, like, I'm not asking for perfection, but that doesn't seem right. And at the time, sure, Pokemon was still popular, but it wasn't in this massive blow up like it is right now when this set came out. Now, I'm seeing some wear, and that makes sense to me because this box has been handled a little bit. It's been out for a couple of years. It's been in and out of hands through a store. I mean, everything else checks out. It's just that there's just one big fat glob of saran wrap like it's been reheated. I don't know how I feel about that. I want to open that box. I don't like the idea of reseals. That is a super, super crummy thing to do. I don't have an issue with people weighing packs. Because you as the buyer have the ability to weigh the packs. I see the issue with it for retailers if people are weighing stuff in stores. I think it's fine to do it as an individual seller and then let people know the weight and then verify the weight at purchase. Resealing is crummy. Why that overweighing is weighing the game is still technically random. You know, you don't know which card is going to be in there. Sure, the pack weighed more. It could have, you know, if you're buying a base set weighed pack, could have a hollow Clefairy, could have a hollow Charizard. Resealing a pack is crummy because you've opened a pack. It probably did have that hollow Charizard. You then pulled it out, swapped it with, I'm trying to think of a non-hollow. You probably replaced it with a Doug Trio base set, resealed the pack, and called it a day. If you can't see what's wrong with that, I don't know how to explain it to you. I'm conflicted. I probably can't return the box. I don't have my receipt. I didn't think about that. It's not that the card store itself is probably crummy. It's probably they didn't know that someone probably resealed this, and that's a red flag to me. Everything else seems to be in order. Like, it's got wear to it. I've just never seen one so sealed so poorly. Sorry, going on a rant, guys. We'll have to open up that Sun Moon Unbroken Bonds booster box and see what happens. I don't think people are going to want it with that sealed condition as a sealed product. So we'll probably go ahead and open that. Other than that, thanks for watching. Bye.